Hey guys, welcome back. Driving home. I was going to do the video in the shop today, but I got stuck here late. Something I wanted to go over. I get a lot of questions about scan tools. I'm sure, just like a lot of the other guys do that do videos. What scan tool should I buy? What do you recommend? What's best for everyday use? Whatever. Or for do-it-yourself use. Like some of the other guys have said, in all honesty, there's no, I don't know, there's no right answer to that. You know what I mean? Aside from saying don't buy a cheap code reader, I don't know really how to answer that question. That's why I want to do this video, because I want to go through a couple of things to explain why that's the answer I give. We have a number of different scanners in the shop. Just to name a few, we have the Bosch ADS, we have the Launch, we have the Autel, we have a TAC 2, we have NGS, we have a number of scanners in the shop. Which one do I go to? It all depends. And as crazy as it sounds, we would not have all the scan tools that we have in the shop if we didn't need them. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like we go collect these things and, newest thing out and we have to have it. I know some guys do. I'm not one of them. I want stuff that's functional and stuff that I need. I don't want to throw money away on stuff that I don't need. So if I could get one scan tool, basically to do everything for me, I wouldn't be buying other ones, you know what I mean? I would just buy the one and be done with it. But the fact of the matter is they don't all do everything. And, I'll give you an example. A couple recent examples. We had a tool, we had a car come in, check engine light on, hook up to it with one of the scanners, and it would not communicate with one of the modules. So at that point, what do? You have no communication with I forget what module it was. I honestly don't remember. But what do you do at that point? You don't have communication with this module. Well, you're either going to start checking for communication problems, or you're going to try a different scan tool first. I tried a different scan tool, which is usually my go-to approach to something like that, and guess what? It worked. I had communication, and it was just a scanner that wouldn't read it. So, these are not cheap tools either. These are not the $129, do-it-yourself version scan tools. These are thousands of dollars, and they don't always perform the way you'd hope they would. So the answer is you need as many as you can get, unfortunately, and that kind of sucks, but it's the truth. I know Paulie just did a great video about having a vehicle in the shop that the PID didn't come up on one of his scan tools, and the reset didn't come up. The ability to reset the parameter did not come up on the scan tool, and that cost him hours of aggravation. This happens, you know what I mean? And it's not stuff that we really want to have to deal with, because it's a waste of time. And again, it's not a $100 code reader that you're working with. You're working with a multi-$1,000 scan tool, and it doesn't always perform. I had one actually yesterday that came in that my partner was working on, and it was a Ford, and it had an intermittent ABS light. Now, the customer said there was nothing with, the way the pedal felt, nothing like that, nothing that jumped out at him, no noise like a hub bearing or anything like that. The guy's pretty in tune with his vehicle, and we always ask these questions, but he says, I don't know, the light comes on every once in a while, and it stays on, and then sometimes I'll shut the truck off, and it'll go out, and it won't come back on. So I said, all right, we'll scan it. So my partner grabs a scanner, jumps in it, and scans the vehicle for ABS codes. There's no communication with the ABS module. So at that point, he starts, trying to figure out what the heck's going on. And, he says to me, what do you think? I says, the light off or on? And he goes, no, the light's off, but if I turn the key on, the bulb check works. And I was like, I just think it's weird that it has no communication. I was like, can you get into all the other modules? So he's like, let me check. So he goes back and he does a full system scan on the vehicle. And it turns out he can't communicate with the GEM, he can't communicate with the ABS, and he couldn't communicate with something else. I think the HVAC or I forget if it was HVAC actually or radio maybe, whatever it was, doesn't matter. He couldn't communicate with 3 modules. So I said to him, I was like, are there any codes in any of the other modules that are complaining about no communication? He says, no. So I was like, something's up. I was like, try a different scanner. So he hooks up a different scan tool, and lo and behold, we have an ABS code for left front wheel speed sensor, intermittent. So it turns out that if you start chasing that no-com, you know, if we would have started chasing a no-com issue with this thing, where would we have ended up, right? How deep does that rabbit hole go, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of reasons to have multiple scan tools. Some of them will not obviously communicate with certain modules. Some of them will not do reset procedures you need done. Some of them will not give you parameter IDs that you need to see, where others will. It's just that simple. I've had the Launch do things that the other ones won't. I've had the Bosch do things the other ones won't, and I've had the Autel do things the other ones won't. Obviously, unless you're using factory scan tools all the time for every manufacturer that you work on, you're going to run into these issues, and that's just a part of this game nowadays because nothing's perfect. You know, I really don't. I really wish that I could say to you guys who ask me, what, you know, go and buy this scan tool. It's the best thing since sliced bread. It'll do everything you need it to do. I'd be lying. It doesn't work that way. Fact of the matter is, for auto technicians today, if you're in this business, you're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on equipment, on just scan tools. If you want to be able to do everything, or most things, I should say. I'm not even going to say everything. If you want to do everything, you need to go buy dealer, manufacturer software, manufacturer stuff. That's it. If you want to be able to do most of the stuff for the brands that you work on, you need to buy multiple scan tools, and that's just the way it is. There's no way around it. If there was, trust me, I would have found it already. But this is where we are in the industry at this point. This is where this is how it works, and I believe that this has always been the case, because I remember years ago, a buddy of mine had a shop and he had a Snap-on scanner, and I think it was the old 2500. I'm not real familiar with the Snap-on stuff because I will not use them, but it was one of the old Snap-on scan tools, and he couldn't get into a module. He couldn't get into a vehicle with it. It wouldn't talk to it. And he asked me, he said, would you mind stopping by with one of your scan tools and see if it'll communicate, or if it works, or maybe you could find something to help me, whatever. I said, yeah. So I went down with an old, I think I had the Determinator at the time, which I still have that scan tool, one of them anyway. That thing's fantastic. I went down to his shop with the Determinator, plugged in, and bang, it went right in. Communicated with the car, and we pulled codes, did what we had to do, get some data, and we fixed the car. But his Snap-on wouldn't work. And I had another episode with a Snap-on scan tool years after that at a garage that I was working at, where one of the other techs hooked up to a minivan. And I'll never forget this either. It was a Chrysler minivan. It was out in the lot, and he went out there and just had a check engine light complaint. He hooked up to it to see what codes it had, and the vehicle, when he hooked up, it had I don't know, 20 codes or something, some crazy stuff, to all kinds of weird codes. And he came in and he said to me, he said, would you mind giving me a hand to take a look at this? I'm not really sure where to go. I don't know if I should start chasing all this stuff. And some of the codes that it had just didn't add up to me, when I looked at it. And I was like, did you try to clear it? And he goes, yeah. He goes, it won't clear. I said, none of them will clear. He says, no. So I was like, all right. I said, you didn't have it running, right? He goes, no, I did it with the key on, engine off. I said, okay. So I said to him, I was like, just start it up a second. I want to hear how it runs and see if it runs all right. He goes to start it, the thing's a no start. So I was like, dude, was this driven here or was it towed in? He goes, no, it was driven in. He says, it ran. I says, it did? He says, yeah, it ran. He said, I even started it earlier myself and it ran. So I was like, wow. I said, all right, now it's a no start. So we start playing around with this thing, and I don't know what possessed me actually. I disconnected the scanner. I unplugged the scan tool from the OBD2 connector, and I cranked it, and the truck started right up. So I was like, wow, okay. I said, that's crazy. So now, of course, I had I really didn't, I thought it was coincidence. I plugged the scanner back in, shut the vehicle off, went to restart it, it wouldn't start. Crank, wouldn't start. So at that point, I was really intrigued. I went inside, I grabbed, I think, again, I had my Determinator at the time. I grabbed the Determinator, plugged it in, started the car, started the minivan up, started right up. I was like, wow. I was like, that's crazy, right? So I again unplugged it, plugged in the Snap-on, wouldn't start. And what I noticed was also that the Snap-on was giving all false codes. The only code that was in there with the determinator was an EGR position or EGR solenoid or something like that. And it turned out it had a bad EGR valve, I think it was, or something stupid. But that was the only problem with the vehicle. But plugging in the scan tool caused multiple other issues while the scanner was plugged in. So if you start chasing that stuff, where do you end up? You know what I mean? If you know, that could have been an ugly, that could have been a really ugly outcome too. But these are the things you encounter. And I'm not just talking about this like because it's a Snap-on scan tool. I don't use them. I think you guys know that, but I'm not going to go spend the money on a Snap-on when I can buy a scan tool that does a lot more for less money. Just my thoughts. I don't have that money to spend, you know, on that stuff. So I don't know. You know what I mean? But those were a couple of incidents that I've had. And I'm not saying that the scanners, like I said, the scanners that I use will do everything and not cause issues, because they do. You know, you plug into a vehicle, you get no communication with a module, you get whatever. And this is brand new scan tools. These are not, 10 years old or 5 years old or whatever. They're new. So you don't expect that kind of stuff to happen, but it does. So hopefully the incidents that I've had get fixed in a software update in the near future with a number of the scan tools. But I know I'm not complaining. Like I said, I mean, those scanners, fix a lot of vehicles with me. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that no matter what you buy, expect it not to do everything. It just is what it is. Bi-directional controls, whatever it may be, it may not be in that scan tool for that model year vehicle. It just might not. PIDs, it may not be in there for that model year, that vehicle. I always try to, if I'm in manufacture, which I like to go into most of the time when I first start off with the Diag, if I go into manufacturer and there's not, the PID that I'm looking for is not there, I will go into generic, because a lot of times you will find it in generic for some reason. It's, it does happen for, PCM related stuff, but again, it's hit or miss sometimes. It just is what it is. You got to live with it. So if you buy a scan tool and it doesn't do something, don't get angry or pissed off about it. It just is what it is. It's you need more than one. That's the honest answer that I have. So I hope you guys understand what I'm saying, and I hope it helps to clarify some stuff. But it just is what it is. It's it's like any other business today. You need multiple tools to do the same job. The way it works. Thanks, guys. See you later.